Hi, this week is Chapter 2 and Stella Batts Needs a New Name. If you missed last week, we met Stella and her mom and her sister. So let's go on and see what happens in Chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Fill in the Mrs. Blank. I'm going to write some stuff in my book about school. I'm in 3rd grade, which means I'm in elementary school. Penny is in kindergarten. She's in elementary school too, but her class is in a different building for little kids. Like I said, my teacher's name is Mrs. Finkel. I know her first name is Dara because the other 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Bauer, sometimes pokes her head in the doorway of our classroom and says, "Are you coming to lunch today, Dara?" But of course, I'm not allowed to call my teacher Dara. I call her Mrs. Finkel. We have 22 kids in our class, including Willa and me. Willa is my best friend. We've been best friends since kindergarten. This is what happened. Our kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Odesky, made everybody line up in size order every day, and then we walked in line down to the lunchroom. I was the shortest in the class, and Willa was the second shortest, so we always stood next to each other. We're really lucky because we've been in the same class every year since kindergarten. If I didn't have Willa in class with me, I'd want to be in Mrs. Bauer's class because everyone says she's not as strict as Mrs. Finkel. Here are some of the other kids in our class. Talisa, Ariel, Asher, Joshua, Maddie. Talisa is my second best friend, and Ariel is my third best friend. I'm not friends with Asher, but Willa is. She's friends with everyone except the meanies, like Joshua, who makes up mean names. Also, once he pinched Talisa for no reason.
Willa and I don't get to sit next to each other, though. That's because on the first day of school this year, we had to line up in size order again. Then we got our assigned seats. The shortest kids are in the front of the room, and the tall kids sat in the back because they could see over the short kids' heads. I'm still the shortest kid in the class, so I'm in the front row, in the end seat, next to a boy named Spencer. Willa grew a bit taller. She's also in the front row, but a little farther down, her seat is between Lucy and Clark. There are 2 times we get to eat in school, at snack time and at lunch. Snack time is shorter, and it comes first. At snack time, we're allowed to stand up and stretch for 5 minutes. Then we have to go back to our desks and eat our snacks. Mom usually packs me apple slices and a piece of candy, but that day I just had an apple. I got up and walked over to Willa's desk, which is what I always do. I put my hands together and stretched my arms up over my head. Then I twisted my hands upside down so my knuckles made a cracking sound. I've seen my dad do the same thing, but his knuckles crack louder than mine. My knuckles crack like the sound of Pop Rocks in your mouth, but Dad's crack like you're breaking apart a really thick bar of chocolate. It sounds like it hurts, but it really doesn't. "Is your mom coming here or meeting us at the store?" Willa asked. Mom was going to be one of the chaperones for the field trip to Batts Confections. We were going to have lunch and do a candy art project. I picked out. Mom and Dad had given me a choice. We could make a big candy mural or we could decorate cookies. I decided on cookie decorating because that way each kid could bring something home. "She's coming here," I told Willa. "She's going to ride on the bus with us." Right then, there was a knock on the classroom door, and then it opened. I thought it would be Mrs. Bauer. I knew she would say, "Are you coming to lunch today, Dara?" And then Mrs. Finkel would have to say no, because she would be having lunch with us in the party room at the candy store. But it wasn't Mrs. Bauer at the door. It was a lady I'd never seen before. She stepped into the room and went to talk to Mrs. Finkel. They whispered together in the way that teachers sometimes do so kids can't hear. Then she looked up and waved. Clark waved back. "Who's that?" Willa asked. "That's Mrs. Blank," Clark said. "She works in the learning lab." Clark has to go to the learning lab for reading because he needs a little bit of extra help. He's really smart about other things, though. He can name all the presidents and all the capitals. "I've never seen her before," Willa said. "She's new," Clark said. So she's like, fill in the Mrs. Blank, Lucy said. What? Clark asked. Blank is like nothing, Lucy said. It's like she doesn't have a name and you have to fill it in. Oh, you mean like Mad Libs, Clark said. Yeah, just like that, Lucy said. That's not very nice, Willa said. We shouldn't make fun of her name. Willa was right. That's the kind of thing that Joshua would do. I wasn't making fun, Lucy said. Anyway, it's okay because she didn't hear me. Lucy is sometimes just an eensy-weensy bit of a meanie. But we're still friends with her. She's definitely not mean like Joshua is. And she's also very brave. Mrs. Finkel clapped her hands together to let us know it was time to go back to our desks. So I went back to my desk and pulled out my snack.